one of the fights that kind of went under the radar, especially in America, and I think in the UK with all the Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder talk as well, is that the World Boxing Super Series does have another final to get to, and that's the super middleweight tournament for the Muhammad Ali Cup, the super middleweight version. We back. It's the Boxing Clinic and more. It's your boy CJ Goodfella, covering all things boxing and everything up under the sun. All right, and yeah, I actually picked Callum Smith to win this tournament in the beginning, but I've been a big George Groves fan through the ups and downs. You know what I'm saying? I thought he actually lost the first fight to James DeGale, but it was very, very close. And I thought he was kind of robbed with the early stoppage versus Carl Froch. And that's when I started to notice him, the DeGale fight, but really the Froch fight. He going to take on Callum Smith, who his brother is Liam Smith, that just fought Jaime McGuire and formerly fought Canelo Alvarez in the WBO junior middleweight title at one point. You know, he's tall, but he lacks experience. He hasn't fought the opposition that George Groves has fought. You know, from Badou Jack to James DeGale to Carl Froch to Fedor Chuvinov, Chris Eubanks Jr. The list goes on and on for George Groves. Some he won, and most of them he lost. That's the question. Callum Smith is like 6'3", tall, super middleweight. Very, very talented, very, very skilled, but had a lackluster performance in his opening round in the super middleweight tournament. Most people would really say that was because of rust. All right. Then the second fight was supposed to be versus Yerman Berman, who beat out American Robert Brandt, and he got sick. And Callum Smith just had a throw-in fight, and now we here. The tournament has been butchered. It had a lot of controversy because it didn't have any top-ranked Al Hammond and no American fighters other than Robert Brandt on both sides of the pendulum. Didn't get any United States coverage, television coverage over here. But I think it's a very, very good fight, and I think George Groves can right some wrongs in his career. You know, the Ring magazine has him rated as the #1 super middleweight in the world. I can't disagree with that, and I'll do a video talking about the best super middleweight in the world later tonight or this afternoon, however it may be. But I can't disagree if they do believe he's the #1 super middleweight. All right? He's accomplished a lot. He's lost a lot, but he took chances and never backed down. And it seems that through all his losses and trials and tribulations throughout his career, right now, Callum Smith is a test to really see if Groves really has broken through in all his losses and injuries and shoulder injuries and bad refereeing and being on the shit end of the stick in some fights. You know, his career has made him tougher. And I believe if George Groves does beat Callum Smith, which I kind of favor him to win, even though I picked Callum Smith in the beginning to win the tournament, I favor him to win this fight, you know, fairly easy or heavy. I think this he can be the poster child of, you know what, I didn't give up. I was on the shit end stick of a fake knockout versus Carl Froch. I lost to Badou Jack. You know, I got my jaw broke or my jaw hurt versus Fedor Chuvinov, and I still became a world champion, and I still conquered the mountain of a tournament, and the ring considers me the best at super middleweight. And just because you have a loss and some bumps in the road, it doesn't matter. I still became the best in my division, according to Ring Magazine and a lot of other people. And I think fighters can look at George Groves and say, just because I done lost 2-3 losses, my career not over. It just makes for a better story. And it's kind of a throwback story for him because Muhammad Ali had losses. Joe Frazier got beat by George Foreman twice. It didn't stop him from being an all-time great heavyweight and being the face of Philadelphia heavyweight boxing. You know, a lot of guys had losses, and it didn't stop him. George Groves still is going to rise to the top if he could beat Callum Smith, and I think he will. I think Callum Smith has been too inactive, too rusty, and he hasn't had the experience to deal with George Groves. Now, if he was to conquer George Groves, he gets full credit from me. And I look good because I picked him to win the tournament in the beginning. But I think Groves is ready to prove, you know, right now for this crop of 168-pounders that he the best. You know, can he beat David Benavidez? It's possible. Benavidez is not in his prime. He's not in his stride right now. He's still, 21, 22, 23? He's still young. You know, great fighter, you know, for his age, but he's still young. You know, Gilberto Ramirez, I think Groves smashes him, in my opinion. Utagi, I think George Groves beats him. I think the only champion that concerns me about George Groves beating, if he beats Callum Smith, is David Benavidez. But the longer they let David Benavidez over there get experience with the Porky Medinas, the kid he fought from Mayweather boxing gym, Ronald the Thrill Graville, and versus Anthony Durrell, which probably going to be on the pay-per-view on a later date or a later card this year for Showtime. The more he gets experience, the more dangerous that man is going to become. Okay, but I think this is an excellent fight. I heavily favor George Groves. Unless Callum Smith is going to put it all together. It's the Boxing Clinic and more. Don't forget, we on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All those links in the description. Check us out at our podcast. The link's in the description as well. We're going to be recording really, really soon, hopefully. And S1210 College Sports Most Wanted, college football, basketball, and high school needs. Also, if you want to join our boycott group, we boycott fights and stream them in a group to take viewership away. The link is there in the description. Shout out to the LDBC. We gone.